Hello, my name is JD Teter, one of the business development managers here at Mation. And as you can see from the intro slide, my primary focus is motion control. Today, I'll be talking about a newly released motion platform by Control Techniques for the Unidrive M700 and the Digitax M750 series of drives. For some of you, this will be a quick trip down memory lane, and others, it'll be brand new. This platform that we're talking about is called Motion Made Easy, utilizing Power Tools Studio. So to start off with, Power Tools was designed to be a quick and simplistic method for achieving some very basic motion or complex motion. So whether you're new to motion control or you're a very advanced user of motion control, Power Tools has a solution that would fit your application. So our goal here is we're about less than a minute into the presentation. We want to get the motor spinning before our counter hits 2. So we'd start off with going into the setup and selecting our drive. I've got an M750 drive, and I just select the specific model. Next thing I would do is choose my motor from the model list here. Because I can use a variety of feedbacks on these motors. I just tell it which feedback the motor has on it. Once I've done that, I can run over to my user units. This is how I scale the drive. This is very, very easy. I simply tell it if the motor moves 1 revolution, what are my mechanics doing? In this case, they're also doing 1 revolution. So now I'm scaled. I don't have to worry about encoder counts and multiplying it and quadrature and et cetera, right? So I've got my user units done. Now I'm going to run down to jogging because that's really what we want to see here. So I would just simply enter in my jog functions, an acceleration, a deceleration, 25 RPM. And because we didn't want to hear the motor whining the whole time that we were talking, I'm going to go ahead and start the motor. You can hear that it is now engaged. And we're running 2 minutes and 10 seconds. So we missed the mark just by a little bit, but you can see here from the middle of the screen that we do have motion on, and you can see from the camera that I've got a motor spinning both directions. So that is jogging. So quick and easy motion in less than 3 minutes. That is Power Tools in a nutshell. So let's take a minute and look at some of the other features of Power Tools. There's a homing function. This is just a standard homing type operation here. I'm going to go ahead and I'll bring some of these my watch windows in so we can see what's going on here. And I'm going to do a quick homing routine. I'm going to tell it to look for a sensor, and instead of tying it to an input and reaching in front of the camera, I have tied my home sensor to an internal bit. So I'm going to go ahead and get that set up. I'm going to go ahead and tell the system to start the home. And then when we get to about the top dead center, trigger my bit, and now my system is homed out. And you can, my camera's blocking the lower right corner, but you can see here that we are at 0 position. So I've homed out the system. The next thing we want to look at is what we call indexing. This is setting up our move profiles. So there's a lot of different styles of indexes here. We're going to do, the first one we're going to look at is called an incremental move, or you might hear it referred to as a relative move. So an incremental move simply says wherever you're at, every time I tell you to start, I just want you to move an additional so many revs, in this case 5. So now we're at 10 revs, 15, 20, and so on and so forth. The other thing that Power Tools gives you is a graphical representation of what that moves like. This is very handy when you're planning out your motion profile. So as you adjust your distances here, you can see how that profile changes, right? We're going to go back to 5 because that's what I had it set up to initially. The next type of move that we're going to be utilizing is called an absolute move. Notice how the word distance has been replaced with the word position. In this case, I'm going to be moving to a very fixed position. In this case, I'm telling it to go right back to the 0 point. So I'm going to trigger the move, and you'll look here and you can see the motor is doing a rapid return back to 0. So 2 different indexes I just ran. We're at 4 minutes, and we've done a couple of different styles of motion. This is how you would prove out your system if you're commissioning the drive. Check your jogs, check your motion, make sure everything works the way you want it to move. The next thing we're going to get into is programs, and I know there's a lot that you see here in the project tree, but there's too much to get into, so we thought we would focus primarily on the motion aspects of Power Tools. I'm going to show you quickly what the programming environment looks like, and I say the word programming environment. I'm going to slide this off the screen for a second. I say the word programming environment, but you do not need to be a person super versed in various types of syntax, code head, if you will, right? Power Tools, the strength of Power Tools is the ability to drag and drop things. So I might do something like, I want to wait for a drive input. So I can either try and figure out the syntax, or I can just come over here, grab the function, drag it across, drop it into position. And in this case, I know that it's called drive input dot 4, and I'm going to say look for it to be on. If I do that, boom. So I can drag and drop into it, or I can type if I know the syntax. And maybe the next thing I want to do is, if I do that, maybe I want to initiate a homing sequence. Again, I can drag it over here. Because in my setup I had defined my home characteristics, those are done. I just come over here and I tell it, well, which homing move do I want to do? So I'm going to grab that one. Now maybe what I want to do is look for that input to go off. So I'm just going to copy that guy, I'm going to paste it right there, and I'm going to change off to off. And there we go. And then maybe what you end up doing is say, okay, now I need to initiate a move. So I'm going to drag an index function over here. And again, I've got some set up. So it says, which index do you want to run? So I'm just going to say this guy right here. And there you go. So you get a feel for the strength of Power Tools. You can code everything yourself if you really like typing, or you can use drag and drop features to drag your various commands into the window and download your program, and off you go. So for our purposes, we are set up. I've got a program predefined already, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the drive to be active, which we know it is. We can hear the drive is enabled. I'm going to wait for a bit called start, and then I'm going to come down here. I'm going to initialize some variables, and then I am going to kick off with an index. I'm going to do a relative move or an incremental index move. I'm going to update my part counter, and then I'm going to check to see if my part count is equal to my preset. If it's not, I'll skip around the rest of this, come right back up here, and repeat my index again until my part count equals my preset. Once it does, I'll do a high-speed return back to 0. So what I'm simulating here is I might be doing an incremental move, or I'm indexing a certain number of pieces, in this case 5 different pieces. I'm bringing them into a position each time, and then once I get that 5th one and I set a bit saying that my part is complete, I fire that back to my PLC, and then maybe I've got a Festo cylinder there that takes those pieces and pushes them off onto another operation, and then I do my high-speed return back to 0, and then I wait. So here we go. Let's see what we got going here. So we're going to highlight our start bit, trigger it. Here we go, and there we go. So now the motor is running. It's doing its index. If you look up here, our part count is incrementing. We're going to be looking. We're doing our high-speed return to 0. And there we go. So we've completed our moves. Our sequence complete bit is now true, and we're waiting for the PLC to tell us that we can run it all over again. And there we go. Start bit came in, sequence is not complete, incrementing our part counter, and completing the sequence and waiting to do a repeat. So this has been a very brief tutorial on Power Tools. If you would like to learn more about Power Tools, please reach out to your PowerMation sales rep, and we can schedule an in-person visit, or consistent with the times, we can do it online like you're seeing here. Thank you again for your business, and we hope you have a great day.